In the tropical waters surrounding Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, cave divers have made an unexpected discovery.
We dive underneath the coastline in an underwater cave. Then we pop up in this magical place.
I was so surprised to find manatees in an area that I thought they were just inexistent anymore.
The most important thing for manatees right now is the loss of habitat.
The development in this area has been increasingly intensive. It is extremely imperative that development does not collapse caves.
If they cut the flow and the fresh water is not feeding anymore, everything is going to be dead here.
Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula is famed for its sun-soaked beaches and ancient Maya ruins. But below is a unique limestone-karst geological system that gives rise to water-filled sinkholes called cenotes.
There are thousands of cenotes, and underneath the surface is another ecosystem, which is the groundwater aquifer. And if we were looking down at it, you would see a network of webs, sort of like the arteries and the veins in your body. They're great big human-sized passages with water flowing through them at kilometers and miles per day, just like surface rivers. It feeds this water from the vast aquifer system out onto the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef system. And this interface between the groundwater system and the ocean is extremely critical habitat for a great number of keystone species. But karst systems are considered very hard to study because they're underground. So there's a huge role for exploration.
Only a little hole like that.
We're looking now here for over 40 years. We have found like over 2,000 kilometers of cave by now, and we just realized we actually have just scratched the tip of the iceberg. I calculated what the potential could be to find cave here is over 16,000 kilometers. We have to become much, much faster to find those caves. We are using drones equipped with LiDAR, so we can take away the jungle in the computer, look at the ground and see actually cave entrances which we couldn't see from normal drones. We also do measurements underground, for example, 3D mapping technology. Or we use dye trace, release dye into the water to prove the water came definitely from here and went definitely there.
Fellow cave divers Klaus Thymann and Louis Leal search for openings into the aquifer from under the sea.
We drop in the sea, use scooters, go under the shoreline, under the coast, through a cave, and enter a magical place.
It's not reachable in any other way. This ecosystem that is surrounded by mangroves with crystal clear water, it is a fully pristine ecosystem, the way the coastal ecosystems were probably 100 years ago. I was so surprised to find manatees in an area that I thought they were just inexistent anymore, because they were like ghosts in the Riviera Maya for so long. But so now suddenly they are enjoying this fantastic hidden ecosystem, and I feel like very lucky.
I've been observing a mother with a calf. The manatees here are shy, so it's been complicated observing them. But they are, at the same time, they're amazing creatures.
We have an estimation of 250 manatees in all the area of the Mexican Caribbean, of the Quintana Roo state. It's a very important population because manatees are endangered. Manatees eat a lot, and this is very important because what they do is to transform the vegetation in very, very small particles that are coming back to the ecosystem through the feces and through the urine, and they are doing this in order that other animals and other organisms can use these particles. So they are very important for the productivity of the area, which means more seagrasses, more mangrove, more plants, and more animals and more everything. There are so many questions we still don't know the answer about manatees, even if we had been studying them for many years. But the most important thing for manatees right now is the loss of habitat.
Although manatees are endangered, only their marine habitat is protected. The vast inland waterways are not.
The development in this area has been increasingly intensive. The threats are numerous, and they're coming from both the top down and from the bottom up. First of all, you end up with a massive area underneath the urban landscape that is heavily impacted with all sorts of dripping in compounds, whether it's gasoline or burnt garbage, etc. If you're in a town that has sewer pipes that go to a treatment plant, that treated water is then injected down into the groundwater system. The bacteria that live down there are exploding on this buffet of nutrient-loaded wastewater. It's a deterioration of the water quality, and it ultimately impedes everything else from living there.
Driving the urban development is a massive regional project called the Maya Train, a new 1,550-kilometre train line connecting the major cities on the peninsula.
If it is developed in a way that there is systematic collapse and infill of cave systems along the way, that will destroy the hydrological function, which means everything to the coast, all these coletas, all these blue holes, all of this fresh bathing water onto the Mesoamerican Barrier Reef will not be arriving. And so it will also be heavily impacted. If that was manatee habitat, they can no longer live there. They have just lost a coleta to live in. It is extremely imperative that development does not collapse caves or fill them in with gravel or fill them in with cement. Imperative.
I have noticed one terrible area where the flow was completely cut, that the place died. There's no oxygen anymore, there's no exchange of water anymore. There are layers and layers of hydrogen sulfide that come from the degradation of organic matter. So this dead place, it's really a very strong and very harsh comparison with this super pristine and super untouched place.
The impact on tourism has on the environment is quite severe. But what's special here is that the hotel that used to be here got devastated in a hurricane, and since then it hasn't been rebuilt. So it's mostly free of people, and that has allowed the manatees to claim this habitat. So that's what's special. If we leave nature alone, it will thrive.
Manatees are very adaptable to different environments. So I think this is urgent to study more about these new habitats.
With the scientific proof, we can actually go out and say, this is where the water comes from, this is where it goes, this is how the aquifer is functioning, and with this we can actually demand protection for this area.
Discovering this magical place makes me very happy because it gives me hope. And I feel that not everything is lost and that we have a very good chance of preserving probably the last of these kind of ecosystems in the coastal area.